food delivery, has received full supply. But I cannot determine, sitting here, that to the right quantities that were required, they have supplied. So what I was expecting the CHAS president to espouse was that we, for the schools in Central Region together, our food requirement for the term had been, let's say, 5,000 bags of rice, 2,000 bags of maize, 100 gallons of oil, albeit only 60% has been supplied, or 20% has been supplied, or this proportion has been supplied. So the urgency must be on the suppliers and buffer stock to remedy the balance. That would have been well received. But to say that there's no supply to Central Region when the kids know the trials come and they release it, and they have even invoiced, I have evidence of store receipts and invoices to that effect. I thought that could have been avoided. Again, now the 20% is also a very legitimate concern that, you know, subsequent to the release of the 20% to the schools, the additional outstanding balance ought to be paid them, because we are running to the end of the term. Now, the 20% that was released to SHS was, some people just look at it in nominal terms, that 20%, what is it going to do? It's probably going to take care of only 3 weeks. But feeding is the major cost component in financing SHS, and that has been taken out, and it's the duty of buffer stock now to supply. So schools don't need money to pay for food, except for perishables, tomatoes and other perishables that cannot be supplied in bulk quantities. So that portion was a retention and the duty of the schools, and it was for that purpose that 20% was disbursed to them to take care of perishables and the general running of the school. Even the provision of school uniforms, payment of it will be directly paid to the suppliers who supply the school uniform. It wouldn't have to go through the secondary schools. So what
has that been done?
That we'll talk about that, but I'm putting it in perspective because I want to empathize with the plight of the SHS.
Yeah, but before you go on, so buffer stock, are they facing any challenges?
I'll repeat that, but I just want to land on this point that 20% that has been disbursed to the schools for them to use in purchasing perishables and the general running of the school, in detailed analysis even posits that in itself constitutes about 80% of what is really required in that component. And then the arrangement was that file your reconciliation report. You stated your estimated number of students you wanted to admit, but file the reconciliatory report. Let us know the actual people that came. Then we will know the balance to supply. Out of 674 schools in Ghana, only 56 have supplied. Here, the concern that Honorable Bedra has raised, which is legitimate, is that he probably thinks that it may be attributable to lack of engagement or training but that is not the case. There were extensive engagement with stakeholders, and this reporting is not a very complicated process. You said you were going to admit 500 people. How many have you admitted, in actual? 300. Send it. It's as simple as that. And it is surprising that in Central Region, Egua for Abrim SHS has filed. Enyamem Community SHS has filed. Swedro Business School has filed. And another school has also filed. So if these schools have filed, what prevents others from filing? In Water Region, no school has even filed. But in Northern Region, about 36 schools have filed, and that is commendable.
But another question another angle is that after the policy started flowing, has there been any post training again? Has there been any post education? Because it looks like it just started and we started and that's it.
So there's continuous engagement with the stakeholders.
But we don't see that.
But Mr. Clark, what training is it? I do not discount the importance of continual engagement with stakeholders. That is being done. But what I'm asking is, what training is required for a head of institution to say that I requested for 1,000 people, but I have even admitted 1,002. So this is my reconciliatory report. How difficult is that? what specialized training is required. So I call that we must engage stakeholders, because the success of every policy depends on the participation of stakeholders.
There's a fear of intimidation, fear of fear of this.
And I'll come to that.
It's so there.
No, see, Mr. Clark, see, and that is the attitude that I am worried about.
Yeah.
You see, some of these attitudes actually go also to trigger political actions. For instance, if I have chanced upon utterances in one of the stations, I produced it. People poising and saying that I am resolved to make sure that I will frustrate this process. Heads of schools and very important stakeholders in schools, because of my political affiliation.
Really?
There have been past times where some people had, not in this regime, some heads of schools had complained that they had been transferred, they had been unduly transferred because of their perceived political affiliation. And I always maintain that we must move away from turnovers characterizing people being transferred here and there, but sometimes the very attitude of the people also may trigger some of these things. But I'm not in support, and that is not the position of the Minister of Education or the President to victimize anyone. So it is unfounded for one to even assert that there is failure to on the part of second years and then third years to pay their fees, and that is premised on free SHS. That is most unfounded and is avoidable. Some of these streets and the complaints that the suppliers are giving and the posturing of the people go to also suggest that people have entrenched positions to sabotage this program. If we sabotage this program, we are not sabotaging it for MPP. The 393,000 children that are being funded, they are not MPP children, they are Ghanaian children. So, it is a national policy. Let us all approach this with a positive attitude and support the successful implementation.
Definitely. But are we seeing the outgoing CHAS president as being a bit negative?
No, I think she's my position is this. My position is this. She has I don't know who gave her the facts, but even the school she heads,
she's a practitioner.
And even the Winnipeg Secondary School where the utterance was made, supplies had been made. So these facts that have been misinformation, I'm expecting her to do the honorable. She's leading a team of important heads of institutions, and children are watching. So it is just honorable to come and say, oh, I stated that 3 terms arrears are the problem, but it has turned out that it's only 1 term. I also stated that no food has been supplied to Central Region, but I have chanced on evidence that suggests that 60% or 40% of food has been supplied. My apology, simple. I'm not saying that she should be, anybody should be victimized, but I'm just saying when you put out information and it turns out to be misinformation, I cannot call her dishonest, but she should do the honorable thing by apologizing and retracting where there were falsehoods.
This is the president of CHAS, not just any ordinary person. I don't think she will come out to say things that she doesn't know.
Oh,
she might.
That supplies had not been made.
No, she said she has given out some information. It is left with us to go and check whether the information she's giving out was right or not. Because in any case, she's their president. And she's the president for all the senior high schools. Now, heads of senior high school. Now, the other issue is that, you see, we are not saying that the free senior high school program is not laudable. It's laudable. But we are saying that there are problems with it. The problem is not only limited to food item. The problem is not only limited to dressing. The problem goes beyond that. There are issues that has to do with even classroom accommodation. There are issues has to do with textbooks. There are issues has to do with children's materials that they use, and that is what we are talking about. So if she has come out to say, well, certain things has not been done properly, let us take it in good faith, and let us also investigate whatever she's saying is the right thing or not. You see, the problem I have with the current Director General is that he comes quickly to defend the indefensible. Have you gone out to find out whether what the lady is saying is right or not? We should not go out to just defend the indefensible. Let's be sure that whatever we put out there is for the benefit of all of us. Why not? When I came to Parliament, I used to pay school fees, and I'm still paying second and third years. but the first years I don't pay again. So it is to the benefit of all of us, and we applaud it. But what we are saying is that it should have been done properly. Let's get our parameters right before we expand it. That's all we are. Some of
I think
that the challenges, we all admit there are challenges with every policy that's implemented. But when the challenges are exaggerated, that is where the problem is. I have here over 50 receipts of food receipts. These are schools. I wouldn't want us to name the school. Yeah, but it's a very important school in Central Region. There are many other such store receipts and invoices from various suppliers have sent. So it is not far-fetched.
It's not about only food.
And no, that is done. GS has also, it's not about defending the indefensible. You are saying that there are arrears to these cost items. And they have told you that these disbursements have been made. Challenges with infrastructure has been, whilst in 2000, whilst I was a student at Asim Anso Secondary School, we had infrastructure challenges. The dormitory that was allocated for boys dormitory, that is the only dormitory that is still there.
It's still there.
The challenges with feeding and the quality of food is an age-old challenge. Let not the impression be created that the coming into being of free SHS is suddenly deteriorating food. But in the budget, the 2018 budget, the funding and provision for infrastructural expansion in our educational sector found eminent expression. And so going forward, in the past years, not much significant steps were taken in that respect, and that is why we are in the situation we are today. So going forward, in the coming years, we will see this problem. Schools under trees, congestions in classrooms. Because of the increased accessibility, which is positive. Because if this accessibility has not been increased, where would these other children have been? They would have been deprived of education. But that challenge will have to be resolved, and plans have been put in place, and that will be resolved.
That's it. All right. Okay, sir.
Yeah, so like I mentioned, some of us thought that they would have done the pilot and get it right before